What is up, YouTube? Venthros here, coming at you for RPG Maker tutorial video number 10. In today's video, we're going to talk about the database. It's a topic that's been kind of coming up on a lot of the emails that I've been getting, that a lot of people want to know more about it, how to do certain things, and these things that a lot of people are asking about are all things that you can accomplish by using the database. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to open up the database. I'm going to start at the first tab and go all the way across. Hopefully this won't take forever. So the first tab, we kind of talked about this in tutorial video number 8. Actors are RPG Maker's way of separating playable characters from everybody else. So, by default you have 10 actors. You can add more, and before I say anything else, a lot of this stuff in the database that has a change maximum button. I also kind of talked about that a bit in other tutorial videos, but basically if you want to change the maximum number of actors, that's how you would do it. And each number you increase it by adds a slot, an empty slot where you can add either a new actor. It's the same for classes and items and weapons and all that. So in the database, your change maximum button will be one that you hit frequently. So these are the actors here. I have Eric selected. And here's your general settings. That's all pretty self-explanatory. You can change the graphics. Like we were changing graphics in other videos. It's not anything too difficult. Here you can set the starting equipment. And this is an area that you can set different features. Me personally, I tend to leave features alone for characters. It'll come up again in the next tab, classes. But, maybe you have, I don't know, somebody that you want to have in your party that has a strong affinity towards fire, for example. I don't know why. Maybe they're from the desert or something. I don't know. But you could set features specific to a character here. I'll get more into features when we get to the classes tab. And then down here is a note. You can type whatever you want in the note. Anything that you want, really. That'll help you remember certain things about maybe a story or whatever. Another thing to keep in mind, and this actually applies to the entire program of RPG Maker, when you hover over something, the developer have done a great job with Tooltips, which are these little windows that pop up. I don't know if they're popping up. I know when I use Cam Studio, sometimes the tooltips don't pop up in the output videos, but they're really helpful. And if you have any question, that's the thing you want to check first. Just hover over something, and the tooltip should help you out. So that's actors. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward. Next, we're going to go to classes, and the thing with the classes is, RPG Maker kind of gives you 10 to kind of go off of. And honestly, if you're just getting started, these 10 classes will cover just about all the bases you need. Like, I don't think you need to get all crazy and add, another 100 classes. Like you want to do a job system like in Final Fantasy Tactics or whatever. This will cover all the bases, but again, you can change the maximum to add more classes. General settings. Let me talk about the experience curve a little bit. It's a little confusing. Click the little dots here, and this will bring up the curve. Now, right now there's 2 tabs. We're on the to next level tab. So if you look here, you'll need 112 experience more. You know what I mean? It's not a total. That's what this is. So when you're level 1, you have 0 experience. When you're level 2, you'll have 50 experience. so forth and so on. And the curve changes based on these 4 sliders here: base value, extra value, acceleration A, acceleration B. The tooltips tell you what they do, but acceleration B usually just brings the curve up towards a higher level range, like it says on the tooltip. For now, I think for our purposes, for these tutorial videos, we can leave this alone, but feel free to experiment with it. You know, when you increase the slider, you'll see that the curve to next level curve, basically the higher up in experience you are, the more and more experience points you'll need to gain a level. Like when you're a level 95, you need to gain 70,337 experience to get to the next level. And then you'll need another 70,956 to get to the next level, so forth and so on. So for now, I would probably just leave all this the way it is. Your parameter curves, these are the curves for each of the actor's parameters. So here's MHP, that means maximum hit points. If you click it, basically it's this particular parameter graph. It's a pretty even slope, right? And they have these different quick settings. So this is, you know, the higher up in level you get, your maximum hit points go up and up and up. Maybe you would use quick setting D for, you know, a weaker type character that doesn't have a lot of hit points. Some kind of mage-ish type character would probably have less hit points than a soldier type class. So there's a curve for each one of the parameters. Down here is where you can set skills. That's on the next tab. And then here's the features. So I'll double click. You double click like you would like adding an event command or anything like that. And these features apply to the soldier class. So, you know, use the tooltips to kind of help you out if you kind of get lost here. But, you know, this particular feature that we're about to add, maybe the soldier has a propensity to resist the poison state. Okay, so in this case, it means it completely negates a state. So if I were to use this feature, then anyone that has a class of soldier would be immune to poison. And we'll go over here to these different parameters. Now the parameters are your maximum hit points, your attack, your defense. You can you know, add or take away percentages. Your EX parameter affects hit rate, evasion. Just look at the tooltip there. You know, when you hide over it, when you hover over it, excuse me. Magic evasion, magic reflection, and then your SP parameters are, you know, recovery effect rate, physical damage rate, magical damage rate, so forth and so on. You can alter those for each class. So your attack, you know, let's say you made a class called Fire Knight. So you could add a fire attack element to your attacks. And that's what all this is. You can add different states, speed, and number of times. It says attack times plus. So if you leave it at 1, you'll actually get 2 attacks. And if it's how many to add to 1 attack. So this is where you can add different skill types. Seal skill types, which means while you're that class, you can't use like black magic. You can add skill. You can specify specific skills to learn when you become a soldier, and same thing with specific skills. So these two are types of skills, and these two are specific skills. And like I said, we'll get to skills in the next tab. Equip, this is where you can set the kind of, and you can see here the features for soldier is equip weapon, axe, equip armor, general armor. It can equip light armor, heavy armor, and shields. And you could set all that with this tab. And other is action times plus, which means, 100%. Party ability, you can set encounter half. They have a couple here to choose from. I'm having some issues with my mouse. So, take a look at them, play around with the features. I think for the beginner, leaving the classes alone is probably a good idea, and just kind of using those until you get more confident and you can decide how to make your own class. Skills is pretty much, the theme is this is where all the data for the game lives. So right now, the skill that's highlighted is attack. That's pretty much your most basic command in battle. You can name it. Here's the general settings, different icon. You can, attack is not a skill type. It's just a regular, everyone can do it. The scope, occasion, when you would change a skill to always is, let's say, a magic spell called heal or cure. You want to be able to use that in the battlefield as well as in your menu. Invocation, it's all pretty self-explanatory. A lot of the stuff in the database really is self-explanatory. You can set the different animations here, which we'll go over in the animations tab. Hit type. You can use, you can change the message here. So right now it says username attacks. Just play around with it. I don't want to spend a ton of time on each tab for the sake of time, but just want to give you an idea of what each thing does. Now, the damage, pretty much this box here defines how damage is calculated for the attack skill. So the type of damage is HP damage. You can set it to MP damage, recovery, and drain. Obviously, you know whether you would use recover or damage. The element for attack is normal attack, but you can set the skill here. So if you had like fire slash or something, you would make the element fire and so forth and so on. Now the formula, I don't know if you can see that big tooltip there, but it's a pretty good tooltip. It kind of defines how it is, but just to make it really easy, this A.attack, that means it takes the user's attack and multiplies it by 4 to calculate the damage. So whatever the attack power is of your character, it's going to multiply it times 4. It's going to also take DEF means the target's, the enemy's defense, and multiply it by 2. And then it's going to get the difference of the two. So if your attack is 2 and the enemy's defense is 2, then you would see that your attack would be 8 minus 4. You would get 4 points of damage, basically. And then the variance basically adds or subtracts up to 20%. So it's not exactly the same all the time. If you don't want to do the math yourself, you can do quick damage setting. These are the types of effects here. So let's say you had an attack called Poison Strike. You could add a poison state to the attack. And that's where you would add, change the effects here. And then there's another note box, excuse me. Let's move on to items. Same deal here with the items. You want to add more items, click change maximum. These are the general settings of the item. As you can see, you can name it, description. Item type is normal or key item. Scope is one ally. It can be all enemies or all allies, dead allies, whatever. And the occasion, again, just like skills, is when you can use this item, the potion. Well, potions you should be able to use all the time. Other items, like any item that damages enemies, obviously, you want to only use those during battles. And then a lot of this stuff is exactly the same as the skill. The damage right now is none, right? Because we are recovering hit points. And that's what the effects are here. So let's go to weapons. Now, RPG Maker gives you a ton of weapons, but in the event that you want to make more, change maximum. Here's your general settings. Here's the animation that it uses. And here are the parameter changes. So basically, the attack power of this axe is 15. So it adds 15 to your attack. Pretty self-explanatory. Here's the features. The attack element is physical. And this axe takes away from your speed and takes 10% away from your accuracy. Which, pretty standard for an axe, I guess. And then, I just click this Venthros Claw. And it has hit +4, which is accuracy. And it adds an attack. Because I assume you would have, one of these claws in each hand. So when I first started playing around with RPG Maker, I just kind of would look at all the, I would just click on different weapons and take a look and see, the parameters and the features and things like that to kind of put it in context so you can figure out how to make your own. Weapons and armors aren't much different at all. Actually, the screen is exactly the same. Right now we have the casual clothes. It's general armor. The price is 100 gold. The equip type is body. Now, I just want to point these out. Armor type and equip type. Okay, so obviously general, you can have general armor, light armor. You can actually make as many armor types as you like. I'll show you how to do that later. Same with the equip type, right? By default, you get shield, head, accessory, and body. So, that's pretty standard stuff. You can change the graphic up here, and here's the features. On top of the defense it gives you, you can have additional features. Obviously, the casual clothes is not very powerful. The brigandine is a little more powerful. 20 times more powerful, actually, than the casual clothes. So just kind of, like I said, it made it really easy for me to just kind of look around and click different things in the armor and look at different ones. The mithril plate, has 24 defense, and there's the graphic for it. But maybe you want the dragon. Okay, so the dragon plate has an element rate of fire, so it basically enhances fire. So anyway, let's go to enemies, and I'm actually going to skip enemies and troops because we just went over that in the last tutorial video. Here's states. Think of state as like a condition, like poison or silence. As you can see here, there's poison here and silence, confusion. These are all pretty self-explanatory. So, an RPG Maker makes it really easy to define certain things. Like it already has a confusion kind of thing where you attack anyone. Just kind of play around with the general settings. Removal conditions, a lot of games remove all conditions at the end of the battle. Some don't. I think poison is going to stay by default. See, the remove a battle end is not checked. And then here's the different messages, battle messages when someone is poisoned or whatever. And then there's the features again and the note. So, nothing too crazy here with the states. take a look at them. And then here's the animations. Okay, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on animations. You get 110 of them to use, so I would just kind of stay with that. There are ways that you can make your own animations. We'll cover them in later tutorials, but for now we're just going to kind of leave them as is. But, if you want to see the animation, see how it'll look, I'm going to hit play. And that's what that animation is going to look like. There's your slash. So we saw that the hand axe used the slash physical animation. So when you're making it, you can kind of get an idea of what the animation is going to look like. Maybe for a very special weapon in the game, you would use a slash special. So just look at all the different animations. I don't think all of them are used by default, because they give you a couple different choices. Like a fire for one enemy could either be this one, could either be that one, or this one here. So I think you have the liberty to choose there. So let's move on to Tilesets. We went over Tilesets actually in tutorial video number 2 or 3, I believe. We actually imported a tile set from a different set to use in our dungeon. That might have actually been in tutorial 4 now that I think about it. But basically, if you want to add a different tab to your field tile set, you could click here and add it through there. But the reason why I brought up why the tile set's important, let's go to the exterior tile set. So this is like anything outside that's not the world map. And you see all these X's and O's here. Right now, passage is kind of checked by default. So if, like right now, you can't walk through this wall here, but if you click it, you change it. X means you can't walk through it. O means you can walk through it. So that's how you can set different passability settings for your tiles. So this is passage for direction. You can change whether certain tiles you only want to be able to pass through to the left or from the left, and to take away, if there's an arrow, that means that you can walk through any direction. If an arrow is taken away, then you can't go that way. Pretty much is what that's all about. Ladders, you can click on it. So if you're using a ladder tile, let's see. There should be a ladder tile here in B, if I'm not terribly mistaken. Anyway, you'll find some tiles that you want to use ladders. Here's your bush. It'll actually show the character kind of walking through it. And here's the bush right here. So the bush indicator means that you can walk through it, and it'll show a special animation of just the head popping out. Counter, damage floor. I mean, these are pretty self-explanatory. And the tooltip, helps you out here as well. Common events. If you use the same event all the time, you can list it here in the common events, so that you can always reference it very easily. And we'll go over here to system. This is where basically a lot of the nitty-gritties of the game are going to be defined. So your initial party is Eric. You can add or take away people. The game title, you can change the currency unit to whatever you want. If you like Zen or Gil or want to make up your own, that's where you can change that. And excuse me. So these are the options that affect the game, and we talked about show player followers, but you can set KO by floor, slip damage. If you walk over a bunch of spikes, you can set whether that can actually kill you or not, or just take you down to 1 hit point. Reserve members XP. That basically means that if you have more than 4 people in your, you have 4 people in your party and you have other people like in a reserve that you can switch from, whether they get XP or not as well. So here's the different music for title screen, battle. This is basically the defaults. You can use events to change a lot of this stuff, during the game. So like right now, the battle is this stupid Battle 1 song. But obviously, if you were to have a boss encounter, you would make that an event, and you can change the battle song there in the event. You can change the window color, you can change the graphics for the boat, ship, and airship, and change the different sound effects here. Starting position is basically where you start the game. We'll actually be changing this quite a bit in future tutorials, especially when we get to like opening cutscenes and stuff. In order for an opening cutscene to take place, you have to use the starting position for a player to start on the screen that your cutscene is taking place. And down here is a title screen. You can change the graphics to whatever you like. That's always cool. Get some dragons, some gates, whatever. Boom. Change it however you like. And you can actually import all this stuff using the resource manager, which we'll talk about in a later video. Let's go to terms. Last tab. So this is where I said you could change the different, you can make your own elements, you can make your own weapon types, armor types, and skill types. By default, RPG Maker gives you special and magic. Obviously you hit change maximum, it gives you blank spots and make whatever other types of skills. So let's say instead of magic you wanted to have black magic and white magic, this is where you would change that. Okay, and then these, everything from the right, from this little space to the right is basically just what you want to name everything. Maybe you don't want to call fight. Maybe you want to call it attack, or maybe you want to call it something else. Maybe instead of escape, you want to call it run. This is where you would change all that stuff. Game end, maybe you could call that game over or whatever. So forth and so on. It's all pretty self-explanatory. I can't even talk correctly. And that is pretty much the database. I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about it and just kind of glossing over a lot of it because when you're making your game, you will spend a lot of time here. If you're making all your own actors, for example, from scratch, you're going to have to, you're going to have to spend some time here. And you say, okay, I want to make a character that's a samurai. Well, luckily there's a samurai class, but let's say you wanted to make, a character based on a vision that you have. You'll probably have to change the actor or add a new actor. You'll probably have to add a new class, maybe some skills, and it all starts to kind of build from there. And databasing, or DBing, which is what a lot of people call it, it's very time consuming and it's very meticulous. But using the database effectively is what helps separate a good game from a great game, or a bad game from a good game. So I hope this tutorial was pretty helpful. This was not meant to be an in-depth, nuts and bolts of every single part of this database, but I did want to go over it a little bit so you'd have, get some familiarity with it. And just like I said before, if you're kind of stuck or you want to know what something does, just hover over it, and RPG Maker provides you with very helpful tooltips that'll pop up and tell you what everything does. So that's it. That's it for this week. I appreciate all the comments and stuff that I've been getting lately. Mostly emails is what I receive a lot of. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see in future videos. I've been answering some questions that I've been getting in the comments, as best I can. But if the next week we're gonna pick up on our journey with the tutorial quest. We're gonna get into adding some more elements to our tutorial game. So if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe. Tell your friends. I mean, it's seriously, your support is what's driving this machine, and I'm getting a lot of support, so I really appreciate it. And, until next week, I'm Venthros, and I'll see you then.